Isn't this the fault of capitalism in that it has presented young people with an economic system which no longer works for them? Capitalism does not work for millennials and it does not work for the generation that came after them. So, can we blame young people for going, you know what, we need a new system because I'm excluded from it?
Yeah, we can't blame young people for registering that the system is rigged against them and demanding that that be fixed. And I really don't think most of the people involved in this protest have any idea what they're signing up for. They are reacting predictably to a system that has frozen them out of the well-being that they helped to create or could create if only there was a place for them in society that made sense. So I don't. The anger is generated by something very real. I'm hesitant to say it's capitalism because it's very hard to say what that means. I think there are things that markets do that no other structure can do better, and that for those things, we need to use markets. And there are other things that markets shouldn't be allowed to touch, and we have now reflexively just thrown markets at everything as the solution to every problem, and it has caused a kind of amplifier of inequality that couldn't possibly have led anywhere else. But the answer isn't simple. Were there a leadership structure in the movement, we could have that dialogue, and perhaps the movement could be brought to some kind of useful place where we could actually finally challenge the things that are so structurally broken about our system. But without leadership, basically every bad idea gets incorporated. It's like, a brainstorming session in which there's no ability to say, no, that doesn't make sense. And that couldn't be a greater hazard, especially with the amount of power that the game theory provides this movement. And to your point about disaffected lefties and all, I still regard myself not only as a liberal and a progressive, but I regard myself as a radical. I haven't changed my political position because the reality of where we are hasn't been altered by this. What has changed is the recognition of others who see themselves on the left of who their allies might be. So in some sense, when I listen to the mainstream left or even the radical left, I don't recognize anything they're saying as useful in the current context. So when I say I'm a radical, what I mean is I actually think we need radical change in order to survive, that we have run off the end of the tape, and the processes that we were using to make sense and to figure out how to navigate have now created an existential threat, or they've created a mode that generates new existential threats so regularly that we won't go on very long this way. Therefore, we have to fix that. But the solutions I hear coming out of the modern left, at least here in the U.S., are all backwards looking, and none of them stand a chance of solving the problem. So
the thing that troubles me with it, Bret, and that worries me in the context of you saying this is civilization ending, is that it's what happens to the people who dissent against some of those very bad ideas that are being suggested. People talk about cancel culture, but I mean, it's not the first time this has happened in history where people who objected to very bad ideas were punished for speaking their mind. And anyone who understands that history would kind of see where this is going. Is that a big part of what troubles you?
Oh, yeah. I think, well, first of all, I should say, because we tend to focus on what's active, we are seeing a picture in which the failure mode that we are headed for is this ever-expanding power of this mind-numbing, nominally left-wing movement. But that mind-numbing left-wing movement is going to back the right wing into a corner. And the problem is, the thing that these two entities are going to agree on is that the way to look at the problems of civilization is race versus race. And so my biggest concern is not that the left wins this and suddenly it's Maoist China. It's that we are in some battle between becoming Maoist China and some kind of return to a race-first view of America, which is frankly the uninvention of America. If we are one thing, it is a structure designed to neutralize these population against population dynamics so that we can prosper together. And the uninvention of that is really unthinkable.